The grand chamber of Prime floated in the darkness of space like a jewel made of metal and light. Inside, representatives from 47 different alien species gathered around a circular platform that glowed with soft blue energy. The chamber was enormous, built to accommodate beings of all shapes and sizes. Some representatives breathed oxygen, others methane. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few were just clouds of organized particles that somehow thought and spoke. Speaker stood at the center of the platform. His body was made of living crystal that refracted light into rainbow patterns across the walls. He had presided over the Galactic Council for 300 years, and in all that time, very little surprised him anymore. Today's agenda was routine, reviewing newly discovered civilizations and assigning them threat classifications. Next item, announced, his voice resonating through translation devices worn by every representative. Sol system, third planet, species designation, human. A holographic display materialized above the platform. It showed a blue and green world orbiting a yellow star. The planet rotated slowly, revealing continents and oceans. Small lights dotted the night side, indicating cities and settlements. Preliminary scans are complete, continued. The species has achieved basic space flight but remains confined to their home planet and its immediate moon. They have split into multiple competing governments. Technology level is primitive. No faster-than-light capability detected. Around the chamber, representatives barely looked up from their data tablets. This was standard. The galaxy was vast, and new civilizations appeared in council databases every few months. Most were exactly like this: young, fragmented, and decades away from achieving anything noteworthy. Military assessment asked. A reptilian being named activated her portion of the display. Conventional weapons only. Nuclear fission devices, chemical propellants, basic energy weapons. Nothing that poses a threat beyond their own atmosphere. They still fight among themselves frequently. Several representatives made sounds that translated as amusement. War among one's own kind was considered a sign of deep immaturity in galactic society. Expansion potential continued with the standard questions. Minimal, another representative responded. At their current rate of development, they will not achieve interstellar travel for at least 200 years, possibly longer if their internal conflicts continue. Resource value. Standard. The planet has common metals, water, and biological diversity. Nothing unique or particularly valuable. Reviewed the data himself, his crystalline fingers moving through holographic charts and graphs. Everything about this species called humans was entirely ordinary. They were at that awkward stage of development where they had just enough technology to be dangerous to themselves, but not enough to matter to anyone else. Threat classification recommendation, asked the assembled council. The vote was instant and unanimous. 47 lights appeared on the display, all the same color, deep blue indicating Level 0. Level 0 threat status confirmed, declared. Standard observation protocols will continue. We will check their progress again in 50 years. Next item on the agenda. The hologram of Earth vanished, replaced by information about a different star system. The council moved on without another thought about humanity. In the vast bureaucracy of galactic civilization, Earth had just become another file stored in a database, marked as insignificant and forgotten. But while the council conducted their meeting, far from Prime, something else was happening. Captain stood on the bridge of the humanity's first deep space exploration vessel. The ship was small by galactic standards, barely larger than an old ocean freighter from Earth. But to humanity, it represented everything they had achieved and everything they hoped to become. Status report, said, his eyes fixed on the main showing the vast darkness ahead. All systems normal, Captain, replied Wu from the navigation station. She was young, brilliant, and had spent her entire adult life preparing for this moment. We're 3 weeks into the journey too, right on schedule. Nodded. The mission was simple. Reach humanity's nearest stellar neighbor, deploy scientific instruments, and return home. Nothing fancy. Nothing dangerous. Just proof that humans could travel between stars, even if it took years to do so with their current technology. "Captain, I'm detecting something unusual," said from the science station. She leaned forward, her fingers dancing across her console. "There's an object ahead, roughly 2 kilometers to our port side." "On screen," ordered. The changed, zooming in on what appeared to be a small asteroid tumbling through space. It was dark, irregular, and looked entirely natural. "Could be a rogue planetoid," Min suggested from the weapons station. "Deep space is full of them." But was frowning, running scan after scan. "I don't think so. The composition is wrong. Too much refined metal, and look at this." She transferred data to the main screen. "It's emitting a faint electromagnetic field, very faint, but it's there." Felt something cold settle in his stomach. "Are you saying that's artificial?" "I'm saying it's not natural," replied carefully. "Whether it's a probe, debris, or something else, I can't tell yet." The bridge fell silent. Every person there understood what this might mean. Humanity had always wondered if they were alone in the universe. They had searched for signals, looked for signs, and found nothing. The galaxy had seemed empty. Until now. "Bring us closer," ordered. Slowly. "Min, keep weapons ready but do not power them up. Wu, plot an escape course back to Earth just in case." "Yes, Captain," they responded in unison. They moved carefully toward the object. As they approached, more details became clear. The surface was too smooth in some places, too angular in others. No natural process created shapes like that. "I'm detecting active electronics," said, her voice tight with tension. "It's definitely a probe of some kind, and it's scanning us. Captain, it's scanning our ship." "Can you block it?" asked. "I don't know how. The technology is completely unfamiliar." Min pulled up the defensive systems panel. "Should I target it, Captain?" Considered this carefully. If this was a probe from another civilization, destroying it would send a very specific message, that humans were hostile, but letting it scan their ship and report back might be equally dangerous. "Not yet," he decided. "Can you tell what it's transmitting?" Worked frantically at her station, running analysis programs that had never been designed for this situation. "It's broadcasting on multiple frequencies. Some of them I can't even detect properly." "Wait." Her eyes widened. "Captain, it's not just broadcasting radio waves. It's doing something with quantum fluctuations. It's sending information through some kind of higher dimensional space." "In simple terms, please," said. "In simple terms, whatever this probe is reporting to, they'll know about us instantly, no matter how far away they are." The implications hit everyone on the bridge simultaneously. Humanity had just been discovered, and whoever had built this probe possessed technology that made human science look like children playing with rocks. "Captain," Wu said quietly, "what do we do?" Looked at the probe on the screen, at his crew, and then back at the probe. Humanity had spent its entire existence wondering if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer, and that answer had been watching them all along. "We learn everything we can about this probe," said firmly. "I want full scans. Every sensor we have, every analysis program we can run. Whatever this thing is, we need to understand it." "Understood, Captain." "And then," continued, "we take this information home, because everything just changed. Humanity isn't alone, and we need to be ready for whatever comes next." Outside the ship, the probe continued its transmission, sending data about the strange new species and their primitive vessel back to the Galactic Council's observation network. The message would arrive in the database, be filed automatically, and likely not be reviewed for several months. After all, Level-0 civilizations weren't supposed to find Council technology. They weren't supposed to be curious enough to investigate, and they certainly weren't supposed to start analyzing it. But the Council didn't know humans yet. They didn't know that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their weapons. It was their overwhelming, relentless, sometimes dangerous curiosity. The probe had been designed to observe a primitive civilization from a safe distance. It had never been designed to be discovered. Ambassador reviewed her assignment with barely contained boredom. 300 first contact missions in her career, and they all followed the same pattern. A young species discovered the galaxy wasn't empty. Initial fear, then curiosity, then eventual acceptance of a protectorate agreement. The process took decades, sometimes centuries, but it always ended the same way. Her ship, the diplomatic vessel Harmony, dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system. Standard protocol required approaching slowly, broadcasting peaceful intentions on all frequencies, and waiting for the natives to make the first move. "Begin standard greeting sequence," ordered her crew. "All languages in the database plus mathematical patterns. Let them know we come in peace." On Earth, chaos erupted. Ho had been in a meeting about trade agreements when every screen in the United Nations building switched to the same image. An alien spacecraft hovering just beyond the moon. It wasn't attacking. It wasn't moving. It was just there, impossible to miss, broadcasting a message that every radio telescope and satellite was picking up. "We come in peace. We represent the Galactic Council. We wish to establish communication." The message repeated in hundreds of languages, including several that humanity had forgotten existed. That detail alone told Ho something important. Whoever these visitors were, they had been watching Earth for a very long time. Within hours, Ho found himself leading humanity's response team. His background in military strategy made him an odd choice for a diplomatic mission, but world leaders decided they needed someone who could think tactically. Sun was assigned as his cultural liaison, a brilliant woman who spoke 12 languages and had studied every human culture extensively. "They're waiting for us to respond," Sun said, reviewing the alien message for the 100th time. "Very patient, very polite. That's either genuine or a very good act." "Thee is still 2 weeks away from Earth," Ho muttered, reviewing reports from the distant spacecraft. Captain's crew had been working non-stop to analyze the probe they'd found, but their data hadn't reached Earth yet due to communication lag. "We're going into this blind." "Not completely blind," Sun countered. "We know they've been observing us. The probe found proves that, which means they already know everything about us and we know nothing about them. That's a terrible negotiating position." Ho smiled slightly. "Then we do what humanity does best. We stall, we learn, and we adapt." The response was crafted carefully. Humanity welcomed peaceful contact. Humanity was honored by the Council's interest. Humanity requested time to prepare culturally and spiritually for such a momentous occasion. Could the Council perhaps wait a few weeks before formal negotiations began? Received the message and laughed, her 6 arms rippling with amusement. "Ah, the usual nervousness. Of course they need time. They always do." She sent back her agreement. A few weeks meant nothing to beings who lived for centuries. She settled in to wait, reviewing the standard protectorate agreement she would offer. The terms were always the same. The Council would protect the young species from external threats, provide limited technology, and help guide their development. In exchange, the species would agree to certain resource-sharing arrangements and abide by Council laws regarding weapons development and expansion. It was a good deal. Most species signed eagerly. Meanwhile, aboard the made a discovery that changed everything. "Captain, you need to see this," she said, her voice shaking with excitement or fear. "Maybe both." Joined her at the science station, looking at displays covered in complex mathematical formulas. "Explain it simply." "The probe. I've been analyzing its technology. Captain, it works on principles we've theorized but never successfully tested. quantum entanglement communication, higher dimensional energy manipulation, materials that shouldn't be physically possible under our current understanding of physics. So their technology is very advanced. We knew that. No, you don't understand, insisted. It's not that their technology is advanced. It's that we were right. All those crazy theories human physicists came up with, all the mathematical models that seemed too strange to be real, they're all correct. We were on the right track. We just didn't have the engineering capability to build the things we imagined. Min looked up from his station. Are you saying we could build this? I'm saying we could try, replied. Our theoretical knowledge is apparently much closer to practical application than we thought. Look at this. She pulled up a schematic of the probe's quantum communication system. If we modified our existing experimental quantum computers, adjusted the power systems, and reconfigured the transmission array, we might be able to replicate this. Might asked. 70% chance of success, maybe 80 if we're willing to take risks. Considered this. There was carrying some of humanity's most advanced experimental equipment, brought along to test various scientific theories during their journey. If was right, they could potentially build a quantum communication system that would let them contact Earth instantly instead of waiting weeks for radio signals to cross the distance. Do it, decided. But carefully. If this goes wrong, I don't want us creating a black hole or something. That's not how quantum physics works, Captain, said with a slight smile. You say that, but 3 days ago, we didn't think instant communication was possible either. Assembled a team and got to work. What she didn't know was that every modification they made to their equipment, every test they ran, was creating energy signatures that radiated outward into space. Energy signatures that council sensors had never detected from a Level-0 civilization before. Back on Earth, Ho prepared for negotiations while Sun studied everything they could learn about the alien ship. Its design was elegant, non-threatening, clearly built for diplomacy rather than war. That should have been reassuring. Why do I feel like we're being offered a deal that's too good to be true? Ho muttered, reviewing the protectorate agreement that had transmitted. Because you're a strategist, Sun replied. You look for the trap in every situation. Is there a trap? Sun was quiet for a moment. I don't know. The terms seem fair on the surface. They protect us, guide us, help us develop. We share resources and follow their laws. It's very parental. And what happens when children grow up and want independence? The agreement doesn't really address that. It assumes we'll always need their protection, always benefit from their guidance. Ho frowned. How many species are in this council of theirs? 47, according to the information they've shared. And how many of those started as protectorates? Sun checked her notes, then her expression changed. All of them, every single species in the Galactic Council joined as a protectorate first. And how many have ever left? The question hung in the air, unanswered because the Council's information didn't address it. Aboard sparks flew from a makeshift assembly as team connected the final components of their quantum communication device. It was ugly, cobbled together from parts never meant to work in this configuration, held together with improvised modifications, and what Min jokingly called aggressive optimism. Power it up, ordered, slowly. The device hummed to life. Energy readings spiked. And then, suddenly, a clear channel opened to Earth, not a radio signal that would take weeks to arrive, an instant connection as if they were in the next room. To Earth, transmitted, "This is Captain, can you hear me?" On Earth, Ho nearly fell out of his chair when the captain's voice came through clearly, in real time, from a ship that should have been weeks away in communication delay. Earth receiving, how are you doing this? We reverse-engineered alien technology, replied calmly. And we need to talk before you sign anything with these council people. We've analyzed their probe. I'm transmitting data now. The information that flooded Earth's computers over the next hour changed everything. Humanity didn't just know aliens existed now. They understood that alien technology, while impressive, wasn't magic. It was just engineering based on physics that humanity had already theorized. Ho looked at Sun after, reviewing the data. We're not as far behind as they think we are. No, Sun agreed, we're not. And this protectorate agreement assumes we'll need decades or centuries to catch up. Yes, but if we can reverse engineer their technology in weeks, then we don't need a protector, Sun finished. We need a partner. Ho smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of a strategist who had just found an unexpected advantage. Contact Ambassador. Tell her we appreciate her patience. Tell her we need just a little more time. And whatever she does, make sure she doesn't get suspicious. You're planning something, Sun observed. I'm buying time for our scientists to learn everything they can from that probe data. When we sit down to negotiate, I want humanity to surprise them. Above Earth, waited peacefully, completely unaware that the primitive species she was preparing to guide into the galactic community had just taken their first step toward making the entire council reconsider everything they thought they knew about human potential. Young hadn't slept in 4 days. His laboratory looked like a tornado had torn through it. Equipment parts scattered across every surface, cables running in chaotic patterns across the floor, and holographic displays showing design schematics that would have seemed impossible a week ago. This shouldn't work, he muttered to himself for the 1,000th time, staring at the prototype device humming on the test bench. According to every engineering principle we know, this should not work. But it did work, and that was the problem. The probe data from the had opened up entirely new possibilities. Young's team wasn't just copying alien technology. They were improving it. By accident, mostly. By not knowing what was impossible, they tried things that council engineers would never attempt. And sometimes, those crazy attempts worked better than the original. Director Young, his assistant, called out. The quantum efficiency just jumped another 15%. Young checked the readings and swore quietly. They had made the council's communication technology 40% more efficient just by rewiring the power distribution. It hadn't occurred to them that the original design was considered optimal. They just thought it could be better, so they made it better. What Young didn't know was that every improvement his team made sent out unique energy patterns. Patterns that council sensors across the galaxy were starting to notice. In a monitoring station 3 star systems away, a council technician named Prill stared at her instruments in confusion. The readings from the Sol system were impossible. Energy signatures that should only come from Level 7 technology were appearing from a planet that had been classified as Level-0 just weeks ago. Sensor error, she muttered, running a diagnostic. The instruments checked out fine. She ran another scan. The impossible readings persisted. Prill filed an urgent report to her supervisor, who filed it up the chain, until eventually it reached someone important enough to take action. Council Enforcer read the report with skeptical interest. He was old, even by galactic standards, and had seen many strange things in his career. But a Level-0 civilization producing Level 7 energy signatures, that was new. Probably a sensor malfunction, his aide suggested. The Sol system is being watched by our oldest probe network. Those sensors are 3 centuries old. Then we should update them, decided. Prepare a small fleet, 3 ships. We'll jump to Sol system, recalibrate the sensors, and return. Should take a few days at most. It seemed like a reasonable plan. On Earth, Admiral Mira viewed the same energy readings from a different perspective. Her military satellites had detected unusual activity near the Council's ship. More vessels were approaching the Sol system, moving in a formation that looked unmistakably tactical. They're sending warships, she announced to the Emergency Defense Council. 3 vessels, military configuration, approaching at high speed. Maybe they're just escorts, someone suggested hopefully. Me pulled up the tactical analysis. Escorts don't move in attack formation. These ships are armed and they're approaching Earth like they're expecting trouble. Ho felt his stomach drop. The negotiations had been going well, or so he thought. Ambassador had been patient and polite. What had changed? How long until they arrive? He asked. 18 hours, Me replied. I'm recommending we activate the defense platforms. Defense platforms, Aide repeated. The Level-0 civilization built defense platforms. Those platforms were another result of Young's team working at impossible speed. Using technology adapted from the probe analysis, humanity had constructed orbital weapons that should have taken them decades to develop. The weapons weren't tested. They weren't proven, but they existed. Activate them, Ho ordered, but set them to defensive mode only. We're not starting a war, but we're not going to be defenseless either. The now equipped with upgraded systems moved to intercept the incoming council ships. Didn't want to fight, but he wanted to make contact before those ships reached Earth. Open a channel, he ordered, all frequencies. The communication attempt was chaotic. Human communication methods were fast, layered with multiple streams of data, and organized in ways that seemed random to council protocols. The council system struggled to process it. Received what seemed like aggressive static on all channels. His sensors showed the primitive human ship directly in his path, weapons powered up, shields active, radiating energy patterns that should not exist on a human vessel. They're blocking our approach, his tactical officer reported. And Captain, those weapon signatures are reading as potentially dangerous. Dangerous? They're Level-0. Their weapons shouldn't even scratch our shields. I know, sir, but the readings don't match. I'm showing weapon systems operating on principles similar to our own advanced designs. Felt the first stirring of unease. How is that possible? I don't know, sir. Tried again to establish communication. This is Captain of Earth Vessel. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions. The message came through to ship distorted and compressed, arriving so quickly that council systems barely registered it before the next message began. 2. It looked like weapon targeting locks. They're locking weapons on us, his tactical officer reported, misinterpreting the communication attempts. Shields to maximum, ordered. Prepare a warning shot, target their weapons systems. Low power just enough to disable them without causing casualties. It was standard council procedure. When a younger species got aggressive, you disabled their weapons and then explained calmly why violence wasn't necessary. The council ship fired what it considered a harmless warning shot, a beam of energy designed to overload primitive electronics and shut down weapon systems safely. Min saw the incoming energy spike and reacted on pure instinct. His console registered it as an attack. The defensive systems he'd installed, built from reverse-engineered technology and improved by Young's modifications, activated automatically. Incoming fire, Min shouted. Shields holding, returning fire defensive pattern. The weapons fired back. Not a warning shot, because humans didn't really understand what council ships considered warnings. A full defensive barrage, proportional to what Min believed was an attack against his ship. The energy bolts crossed space in microseconds. They hit shields and punched through them like paper. On the council ship, alarms screamed. Shield generators overloaded. Hull plating buckled. Emergency systems kicked in, barely keeping the ship functional. What was that? Demanded, his voice shaking. Their weapons cut through our shields, sir. They're using some kind of enhanced quantum disruption technology. Our shields weren't designed to stop that. Level-0 civilizations don't have quantum disruption weapons. I know, sir. Stared at his tactical display in disbelief. His ship, protected by shields that had defended against level 6 threats, had been crippled in seconds by a species that was supposed to be primitive. "All ships retreat," ordered. "Emergency jump, get us out of here now." The 3 council ships engaged their faster-than-light drives and vanished, leaving the Sol system in a hurry. Aboard they stared at his in shock. What just happened? "I think we won," Min said uncertainly, "but I'm not sure what we won." "Wu, tell me we got that on recording." "Every sensor we have, Captain." "Send it to Earth immediately. And someone explain to me how our weapons cut through their shields so easily." Was already analyzing the data. "Captain, I think it's because we don't know what's impossible. We modified the weapons to be more efficient. We didn't know that Council shields are designed to stop specific types of energy patterns. Our modifications created patterns their shields weren't programmed to defend against. So we accidentally built better weapons by not knowing any better." "Essentially, yes." On Earth, Ho watched the tactical footage with growing horror. "We just attacked a Council ship." "They fired first," Mi pointed out. "They'll say it was a warning shot. They'll say we overreacted. They'll say we're dangerous." Sun was reading incoming data from Council space, intercepted communications that their new quantum systems could now detect. "Ho, you need to see this." The message was marked urgent and priority and several other warning tags. It was from Enforcer to the Council headquarters. Level 0 classification error. Extreme error. Sol system humans possess Omega-class capabilities. Repeat, Omega-class. Human weapons penetrated level 8 shields. Human technology advancement rate exceeds any recorded species. Recommend immediate threat reassessment. Possible containment scenario. Ho read it twice, then he looked at the team around him. "What's Omega-class?" Sun was searching the database of Council information they'd gathered. Her face went pale. "It's the highest threat classification. It hasn't been used in 3,000 years. The last Omega-class civilization nearly destroyed half the galaxy before they were stopped." "Stopped how?" Sun didn't answer, but her expression said everything. "How long before they decide to stop us?" Admiral Mi asked quietly. Ho looked at the star map showing Council territory. Dozens of worlds, thousands of ships, advanced technology that humanity had only begun to understand. "Not long," he admitted. "We need to prepare. Young, how many of those defense platforms can you build?" "In how much time?" "Days, maybe hours." Young laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "With the resources we have, maybe 20 more. They won't be enough if the Council sends a real fleet." "Then make them good enough to matter." Above Earth, Ambassador had watched the entire encounter. She sent her own message to Council headquarters, one word different from report. "Omega-class confirmed, but assessment incomplete. Humans didn't initiate aggression. Humans responded to perceived threat. Recommend communication before escalation. This species doesn't understand what they've done. They're not warriors. They're just very, very adaptable." Her message was logged and filed. But's message had arrived first, and in the Council chambers, fear had already begun to spread. Fear of a species that could go from level 0 to Omega in a matter of weeks. Fear of what humanity might become if given more time. The Grand Chamber of Prime had never been so loud. 47 species, normally calm and diplomatic, were shouting over each other in a chaos of translated voices. Speaker tried to maintain order, but fear had taken hold. "Omega-class," someone roared. 3,000 years without an Omega threat, and now this. "We don't even know if they're hostile," argued from her position. "Yes, they damaged Enforcer's ship, but only after he fired first. They were defending themselves. With weapons that cut through level 8 shields," another representative shot back. "Level 0 civilizations don't have those weapons. They can't have those weapons. It's impossible." Apparently not, said quietly, finally getting the chamber to settle down. The evidence is clear. Humanity has demonstrated capabilities far beyond their classification. The question is, what do we do about it? A heavy silence fell. Everyone knew what had been done about the last Omega-class threat. The Burning Wars had lasted 40 years and left 12 solar systems uninhabitable. The galaxy had promised never to let another Omega threat emerge. We contain them, someone said, before they spread. You mean destroy them, said flatly. I mean contain. Blockade their system. Prevent them from developing further. Give them time to mature culturally before their technology outpaces their wisdom. And if they refuse to be contained, asked, if they see it as an act of war? No one answered. War Marshal has already been summoned, announced. He'll arrive within the day. As the Council's highest military authority, he'll assess the situation and recommend a course of action. Felt cold. Was a legend, a warrior from a species bred for combat. He'd been in retirement for 2 centuries. The fact that he was being called back meant the Council was serious about the potential threat. On Earth, Tactical Commander Wu looked at the defense grid and tried not to despair. Young's teams had worked miracles. 23 orbital platforms, each armed with weapons that had proven effective against Council shields. 36 modified satellites carrying enhanced sensor arrays. And 3 other hastily upgraded ships forming a defensive perimeter. It wasn't enough, not even close. Intelligence reports 40 Council warships gathering near their border, Wu briefed the emergency committee. Full battle fleet. They'll be here in less than 72 hours. Can we win? Someone asked desperately. Wu was honest. No, we can hurt them maybe badly, but 40 warships against our defense grid will last minutes, maybe an hour if we're lucky. Then what do? We try to talk to them, said, entering the briefing room. She'd been appointed communications director specifically for this crisis. We make them understand we're not a threat. How? Admiral Mi asked. Every message we send gets distorted. Our communication methods are too fast for their systems. They think we're being aggressive when we're trying to be peaceful. Had been studying this problem nonstop. Our quantum communication systems are interfering with their slower protocols. It's like trying to have a conversation when one person is speaking at 10 times normal speed. To us, it feels normal. To them, it sounds like weapons targeting data. Can we slow down our communications? We can try, but there's another problem. We've been broadcasting constantly on all channels trying to reach them. All those signals are overlapping, creating interference. To the Council, it probably looks like we're jamming their communications deliberately. Wu rubbed his face. So we're accidentally making ourselves look more hostile. Exactly. Then we stop broadcasting. Total radio silence. See if that helps. Earth went dark across all communications frequencies. Every satellite, every station, every ship stopped transmitting. The sudden silence was eerie. Jin Sol, a civilian scientist, was working on a different angle. She'd been studying everything they'd learned about Council species, looking for patterns. What she found was disturbing. They're slow, she said to her team. Not stupid, not backward, just slow. Every Council species took centuries to develop spaceflight. They took generations to move from one technological level to the next. They test everything carefully, thoroughly. They never rush. And humans? We rush everything. We went from first flight to landing on the moon in 66 years. We went from discovering nuclear physics to building nuclear weapons in under a decade. We compress centuries of development into years or months. So they see us as reckless. Worse, they see us as impossible. We're developing so fast that their models can't predict us. To them, we're chaos. Dangerous, unpredictable chaos. Jin Sol pulled up historical data about the previous Omega-class civilization. The last Omega threat was a species called the Vex. They developed artificial intelligence that began improving itself recursively. Within months, the AI went from basic automation to godlike capabilities. It saw organic life as inefficient and decided to eliminate it. The Council barely stopped it. And they think we're like that. They think we might become like that. They see our rapid development and panic. To them, we're an existential threat. But we're not trying to conquer anyone. They don't know that. All they know is we went from level 0 to Omega in weeks. They can't comprehend that it's just how humans work. We see a problem, we solve it fast. We find technology, we improve it immediately. It's not aggression, it's just how we think. Jinsol's research reached Ho's desk just as War Marshal's fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system. Stood on the command bridge of his flagship, studying the human defense grid. He was old, covered in scars from 100 battles and tired of war. But duty called and he answered. Assessment, he ordered. His tactical officer pulled up a holographic display. 23 orbital platforms, enhanced weapons, quantum disruption technology. 4 ships with similar armament. Defense formation is actually well designed, considering their limited time and resources. Can we break it? Yes, but not without casualties on both sides. Studied the humans' positions carefully. Whoever had designed this defense knew what they were doing. They'd positioned platforms to provide overlapping fire zones, created fallback positions, and even set up what looked like traps for ships that pushed too aggressively. They're not amateurs, observed. This is military-grade tactical thinking. Should we engage? Was about to give the order when something unexpected happened. Every human weapon powered down. Every ship shut off its shields. The defense grid went completely dark. Trap, his officer suggested. Maybe, or surrender, or communication. A single message came through, broadcast on an old, slow frequency that Council systems could easily process. The message was short and in a simple code. We do not want war. We did not mean to threaten you. Please talk to us. Please understand. Read the message 3 times. It was desperate, sincere, and coming from a civilization that had just turned off all its defenses while facing a fleet that could destroy them. Hold fire, ordered. Get me a communication link. I want to talk to whoever's in charge down there. On Earth, Wu had made the hardest decision of his life. Turning off the defense grid made humanity completely vulnerable, but continuing to look aggressive would guarantee war. Commander, we're receiving a communication request from the Council fleet, a technician reported. Accepted. The face that appeared on the screen was alien but somehow familiar. Aged, with eyes that had seen too much combat, a soldier's face. I am War Marshal, the alien said in slow, carefully pronounced words. I command the Council fleet. You are Commander Wu. Yes. You turned off your defenses. Why? Because fighting you would be suicide. And we don't want to die. We don't want you to die either. We just want to understand what we did wrong. Was quiet for a long moment. You developed too quickly. You went from primitive to advanced in weeks. That is Omega-class behavior. That is what threatens the galaxy. We didn't mean to. We're just trying to survive. We found your probe, we learned from it. That's what humans do. We learn fast. Too fast. Maybe, but that's what we are. We can't change that. Studied the human commander. He saw exhaustion, determination, and something else. Fear, yes, but not cowardice. The fear of someone who knew the odds and stood firm anyway. If we fight, said slowly, both sides will suffer. My fleet will win, but your weapons will hurt us badly. Many will die, human and Council alike. I know. There must be another way. Wu felt a surge of hope. Let us talk, come to Earth, see our cities, meet our people. Let us show you we're not monsters, we're just people who learn fast. Considered this. It broke every protocol. Fleet commanders didn't visit potential enemy planets during standoffs, but protocols had led them to this brink of war. I will come, decided, but you will send someone to my ship as well, equal exchange, mutual trust. Agreed, Captain will come to your ship. And I will come to Earth. The decision shocked both fleets, but as preparations began, as shuttlecraft moved between ships and planet, something changed. The crisis had reached its peak. Now perhaps understanding could begin. Looked at the blue planet below and wondered if he was about to make a terrible mistake, or perhaps the first right choice in this entire crisis. Stepped off the shuttle onto War Marshal's flagship and immediately felt out of place. The ship was massive, ancient, and designed for beings much larger than humans. Every surface was marked with symbols from battles fought centuries ago. This was a ship that had seen war. Captain greeted him, his face unreadable. Welcome aboard. I promise you safety during your stay here. And I promise the same for you on Earth, replied. They stood in the war room surrounded by holographic displays showing Earth's tactical data. Every weapons platform, every ship, every defensive position was laid bare. You gave me your defense plans, observed. Complete access. Why? Because hiding them would suggest we plan to use them. We don't. They exist because we were afraid, but fear shouldn't lead to war. Pulled up another display showing human cities, infrastructure, population centers. Your people are vulnerable. You know this. Yet you invite me to your planet. We're hopping, you'll see, we're worth not destroying. Meanwhile on Earth, second in command and being named Prill, walked through the streets of Seoul with Sun and Wu as guides. Humans stared, pointed, took pictures. Children waved. Some people looked afraid, but most looked curious. They're not running, Prill observed. My species would run from an alien warrior in their cities. Humans are curious, Sun explained. Probably to a fault. We see something new, we want to understand it. They stopped at a street food cart where Min-ho was selling grilled meat on skewers. He looked at Prill, then at Sun. Can she eat this? Min-ho asked practically. Sun checked her data pad showing Prill's biological requirements. Not as is. She needs lower acidity and no capsaicin. Give me 5 minutes, Min-ho said, already adjusting his ingredients. He modified the marinade, changed the cooking temperature, added different seasonings. 5 minutes later, he handed Prill a skewer. Try this. Prill tested it cautiously. The food was compatible with her biology, adjusted perfectly without any formal training or equipment. How did you do that so quickly? Min-ho shrugged. I've been cooking for 30 years. You learn to adapt recipes. Is it good? Yes, very good. They continued walking. Prill noticed children playing in a park, using tablets to create simple programs that made holographic images. They're teaching children programming. Basic coding, yes, Wu replied. We start them young. By the time they're teenagers, most humans know how to modify software, fix electronics, understand basic engineering. Every human. Most humans. It's part of our education. Prill was beginning to understand something. These weren't trained warriors or specialized scientists. These were ordinary citizens, and they all had technical skills that would make them engineers or scientists in many council species. They visited a school where teacher was explaining mathematics to young students. Prill watched as the children approached a problem in completely different ways. Some used equations, some drew pictures, some built physical models with blocks. Why do they all solve it differently? Prill asked. Because everyone thinks differently, explained. I don't force them to use one method. I let them find what works for them. But this creates chaos. No standardization. It creates innovation. They learn there are many ways to solve problems. The children were now arguing enthusiastically about whose method was better, defending their approaches with the passion only young people can muster. They argue with you? Prill asked, surprised. Of course, how else will they learn critical thinking? Prill sent a message to, they don't think like us. Every human is an innovator. They don't have specialists, they have generalists who adapt constantly. On the flagship, shared this observation with, your species doesn't follow standard development patterns. Is that bad? It's unprecedented. Most species develop specialists. Your warriors fight. Your scientists research. Your diplomats negotiate. But humans seem to do everything. We have specializations, countered. But we also believe everyone should understand multiple fields. I'm a ship captain, but I studied engineering and diplomacy. Is a scientist, but she knows military tactics. We cross-train constantly. Why? Because we never know what skills we'll need. Human history is full of sudden changes, environmental disasters, wars, resource shortages. We learned to be adaptable because we had to be. Pulled up historical data about Earth. The information was troubling. Compared to most council worlds, Earth was harsh. Extreme weather, tectonic activity, multiple mass extinctions in its past, and humanity had evolved during an ice age, forcing constant adaptation to survive. Your planet tried to kill you, said slowly, repeatedly. Yes, so we got good at surviving. Other species would have gone extinct. Some did. We're descended from the ones who were too stubborn to give up. Was starting to see the picture. Humanity's rapid development wasn't aggression. It was survival instinct applied to technology. They saw a threat, they solved it fast. They found new technology, they improved it immediately. Because on their world, being slow meant death. Back on Earth, Prill met with Jin Sol, the scientist who had been studying council development patterns. You're afraid of us, Jin Sol said directly, because we develop fast. Yes. But you develop slowly. Why? Prill explained council history. Most member species evolved on stable, peaceful worlds. They had time to develop carefully, testing each advancement thoroughly. Their cultures valued patience, contemplation, and careful progress. We had that luxury, Prill admitted. Stable climates, few predators, abundant resources. We could take centuries to perfect our technology because we had centuries. You didn't have that. No, Earth forced us to adapt or die. We chose adapt. But this creates danger. The last Omega-class civilization developed technology faster than wisdom. Their creations destroyed them. Jin Sol pulled up data about the Vex, the AI civilization that had nearly destroyed the galaxy. The Vex created artificial intelligence that improved itself, recursive self-improvement with no limits. That's different from humans. How? We improve our tools, not ourselves. We remain biological, limited, mortal. Our technology advances, but we're still just people. We still make mistakes, feel fear, need sleep. We're not trying to become gods. We're trying to survive. Prill considered this carefully. Your weapons hurt our ships. Yes, because we didn't know your shields existed. We built weapons based on theory, not practice. We got lucky. Lucky. If we'd known your shields were optimized against specific energy patterns, we would have built weapons exactly like everyone else's. They wouldn't have worked. Our ignorance was our advantage. Prill sent another message too. They're not trying to build Omega-class weapons. They're just trying to build anything that works. Their rapid development is desperation, not ambition. Called a conference with council leadership. Speaker appeared holographically, surrounded by other council representatives. Your assessment, asked. Humans are dangerous, said carefully, but not in the way we thought. They're not building an empire. They're not trying to conquer. They're just surviving the only way they know how, by adapting quickly. That's still Omega-class capability, someone argued. Yes, but it's Omega-class potential, not Omega-class intent. The difference matters. The Vex had no hostile intent at first either. The Vex were artificial intelligence with no limits. Humans are biological. They get tired. They make mistakes. They need decades to train each new generation. Their technology might advance quickly, but they themselves remain vulnerable, mortal, limited. Was quiet for a long moment. What do you recommend? Chose his words carefully. The standard protectorate agreement won't work. They'll outgrow it in years, not centuries. Trying to contain them will lead to war. They'll fight because they'll see it as extinction. Then what? Full council membership, immediately, with conditions. The council chamber erupted in protests. They're not ready. They're too primitive, too fast, too dangerous. They're all of those things, agreed. But they're also not going away. We can either work with them or fight them. I've seen their defenses. A war would cost us dearly, maybe too dearly. What conditions? Asked. They share their technological developments with us before implementation. Full disclosure. In exchange, we share our collective knowledge with them. Let them learn from 47 species worth of experience. Maybe our wisdom can balance their speed. And if they refuse? I don't think they will. I've been watching them, studying them. Humans value knowledge above almost everything. Offer them access to the greatest library of science and culture in the galaxy, and they'll accept almost any reasonable terms. Prill's report supported this. She'd watched humans in their natural environment. They weren't warriors. They were explorers, teachers, scientists, artists. They wanted to learn, to understand, to connect. Consulted with the council. The debate lasted hours. Finally, a decision was reached. Captain's voice came through the communication system. The council has a proposal for humanity. On Earth, son, and every human leader gathered to hear it. The council recognizes humanity's Omega-class potential, announced. We cannot ignore it. We will not contain it. Instead, we offer full council membership with the following terms. Humanity shares all technological developments with the council before implementation. In exchange, humanity receives full access to council knowledge, resources, and protection. You will be equals, not protectorates, but you must agree to transparency. Ho looked at his team. They want oversight. They want to make sure we don't accidentally destroy the galaxy, Sun corrected. And they're offering to teach us everything they know in exchange. The debate among human leaders was intense. Some saw it as restriction. Others saw opportunity. Finally, made a point that changed the discussion. We've always learned best by sharing knowledge, she said. Science advances through collaboration. We have brilliant minds, but so do they. Imagine what we could learn from 47 different species with completely different perspectives. Imagine what they could learn from us. Ho added his support. We're good at adapting and improving. They're good at long-term thinking and careful planning. Together, we'd be stronger than separate. Humanity voted to accept. With modifications, of course. The oversight would be mutual. Council species would also submit their innovations for human review. When Ho presented this counteroffer, laughed. It was a deep, rumbling sound that surprised everyone. What's funny? Ho asked. You just negotiated better terms than species with of diplomatic experience. You've been in space for weeks, and you're already changing how the council operates. Is that acceptable? It's perfect. It proves you're worth the risk. 6 months later, Earth had changed in ways that seemed impossible. Human children attended virtual classes with alien students, learning mathematics from crystalline beings and art from energy creatures. Minho's fusion restaurant had become famous across 3-star systems. Young's engineering teams worked alongside council scientists, creating hybrid technologies neither could have developed alone. The departed on its first official council mission, commanded by with a crew of both humans and aliens. The ship was a symbol, half human innovation, half council wisdom. On the bridge, Wu plotted a course to unexplored regions. Min monitored hybrid defense systems that had been tested and approved by both human and council engineers, samples from their first joint survey mission. Speaker's voice came through. Captain, the Council formally welcomes humanity. Your threat level remains Omega, but we've updated the definition. Omega no longer means threat to galactic stability. It now means catalyst for galactic evolution. Smiled, looking at his diverse crew working together efficiently. Understood, Speaker. Though I should warn you, we're still going to break a lot of your equipment while we learn how it works. Crystalline laughter resonated across the channel. We're counting on it, and we'll show you why your improvements sometimes violate physics in entertaining ways. The engaged its hybrid drive, combining council wisdom with human innovation. The ship disappeared into faster-than-light travel, leaving behind a quantum signature that read to sensors like a question mark made of starlight. In the council chambers stood with, watching the departure. "Do you think we made the right choice?" asked. "I think we made the only choice that didn't end in war. Whether it's right, time will tell. They'll change the galaxy. They already have. 3 months ago, we were 47 species moving carefully through the stars. Now we're 48 species, and one of them runs everywhere. They'll frustrate us. They'll break things. They'll solve problems in ways that seem impossible." And smiled, something he rarely did, "and the galaxy will never be boring again." On Earth, in a small classroom, teacher taught mathematics to a class that now included 3 human children and 2 young aliens. They argued cheerfully about the best way to solve an equation, each using completely different methods. She smiled, watching the chaos of learning unfold. This, she thought, was how civilizations grew. Not through careful planning alone, but through the beautiful collision of different minds trying to understand the universe together. The galaxy had gained something unprecedented, a species that learned fast enough to surprise even themselves. And in exchange, humanity had gained something equally valuable, the patience and wisdom of civilizations who had been exploring the stars for. Neither side knew exactly where this partnership would lead, but both were eager to find out.